Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to quickly mention that episode 3 of VGC with Pros, my collaboration with Shady Penguin, is finally out. It's a really good battle, just like the last two episodes, which were quite incredible as well. So I'll link that in the description below if you're hungry for more VGC content. You can check that out after this episode. But we're just going to jump onto the ladder currently with a rating of 1658, trying to end our week with a rating of in the 1700s after coming back from vacation. So yeah, it's been a pretty good week so far. I definitely have enjoyed all the battles, and we'll see how much higher this team can take us. As always, if you enjoy Road to Rank, please show your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it as we look for our first opponent of today's episode. Also, if you didn't see the episode from 2 days ago, I'm just going to mention that again since I had some trouble sending to subscriber boxes. That one, it seems like a bunch of you guys may have missed, and it was a pretty good episode, so I recommend it. And yesterday's episode was pretty fun as well. Volcarona had a lot of it put in a lot of work, basically. We're going to find Hayden, 26, from California with a rating of 1548 to kick off today's episode. Hayden's got a really strong team here of Salamence, Cresselia, Sylveon, Conkeldurr, Bisharp, and Aegislash. So, looks like a pretty standard looking team. Salamence, one of the Mega Evolutions led, I personally think will be very good, especially at Nationals and Worlds this year. Cresselia, also a Pokemon that I think will just, see more usage as we get into those tournaments. This team kind of looks familiar to the team we faced in yesterday's episode, but he's got a bunch of ways to hit the Aegislash. If you guys watched yesterday's episode, you may have realized that my opponent didn't really have a way to beat Aegislash because he didn't bring his own Aegislash. So my opponent here really has two ways to knock me out my own Aegislash. He has his own and his Bisharp, and Conkeldurr potentially if he has knockoff as well. Aegislash deals with the left side of his team incredibly well with Salamence, Cresselia, or Sylveon, so I'm definitely going to want to bring it. Now, I actually like Rotom Wash Aegislash here as a lead, I think. Just because this Rotom is so fast that it can outspeed his Bisharp and actually just knock him out immediately with something like a Hydro Pump. Though I could also just lead with Kangaskhan, but I'm not really sure how much I really want to do that. For example, leading something like Rotom Wash Aegislash gives me options against regardless of what he chooses to bring. Kangaskhan in the back. Volcarona is still kind of tempting here, but he probably has Rock Slide on Conkeldurr. At least, that's a move like Conkeldurrs like to carry. Though I guess otherwise, it's not like Bisharp, Aegislash, Cresselia, and Sylveon threaten it too much. Part of me wants to bring Togekiss just because it's just having Stab, Air, or a Flying type attack against Conkeldurr is incredibly good. It's not like Intimidate is absolutely essential in this match. So I'm actually probably not going to bring Landorus. So my last Pokemon choice is really between Volcarona and Togekiss. And it's honestly both of them really solid. But I'm actually going to opt for Volcarona here. I'm beginning to be a bit more comfortable with it, and I do think this is a match where I could foresee myself, switching in, getting a free Quiver Dance off. You'd imagine if he has a combination of Pokemon like Cresselia, Sylveon, Aegislash, or Bisharp out, I can just get Volcarona for free. And if he does have Rock Slide, I still have got my Wide Guard on my own Conkeldurr. So Hayden here is going to lead with Salamence and his Aegislash against my Rotom and Aegislash. So, both of us obviously choosing to bring our Aegislash in this match. I don't mind this matchup too much. Salamence actually did not have Intimidate, which is really rare. Now I foresee the Salamence switching out here, or Mega Evolving and protecting this first turn. Either makes sense. And Rotom is pretty good in this matchup. I could double up onto his Aegislash immediately with the Thunderbolt Shadow Ball. And I think I'm going to go for that play. Yeah, just looking at his team, it makes the most sense to me. Salamence does choose the Mega Evolve here. Though I could see him not protecting here just because he doesn't need the speed boost, and in which case I'd feel a bit silly since Hidden Power Ice would have knocked him out immediately, but he does go for the Protect as I anticipated, which is good. And the real question is whether his Aegislash goes for a King Shield, but it doesn't. So I do make the right prediction. We'll see whose Aegislash is actually faster here. Thunderbolt brings him just around 50%. He is going to be able to stance change first, so he's going to get a Shadow Ball off before fainting, but at least I knock his Aegislash out, which is a threat to my Conkeldurr in the back. Smartly targets Rotom here. It doesn't knock me out, but does a lot more damage than I really would have wanted. The reason why I didn't go for the Protect Shadow Ball play this first turn was because, my Shadow Ball wouldn't have knocked him out, and it could have activated a potential weakness policy. So I would have rather knocked out his Aegislash rather than allow it to hang around, especially if it's at +2 special attack, since I think my Aegislash, like I said, is essential to this match. Once again, this is a case where I don't think my opponent has a great way to deal with it at this point, which is obviously great news for me. This next turn I'd rather go for the safer play. I think I'm just going to I could protect here, but I could also just go for the hidden power in the off chance that he tries to earthquake me. Not that I anticipate that. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to play it a bit safer here. I'm going to protect instead of just sacrificing the Rotom because I want to see what he goes for. I want to scout out his moves a bit more, see what the Salamence is really carrying since we don't know whether he's a physical or special set yet. You know, this is the safest play possible. Worst case, Cresselia here goes for maybe a Thunder Wave onto the Aegislash, but that's really the only thing he could do. You know, I'm not going to lose anything here. I guess the Salamence could Dragon Dance here. He actually goes for the Dragon Claw, which isn't the move you see every day. But smartly enough, he does go for the Thunder Wave, which I, you know, said my opponent might have had there onto the Aegislash, so that's good for my opponent. Interesting to see Dragon Claw there. Once again, that's not a move that most Salamences carry, but that's alright. I'm going to go for the Hidden Power onto Salamence and the Shadow Ball. Reason being, Cresselia really can't touch Aegislash or Volcarona in the back with the Quiver Dance, so I just want to knock out the Salamence. Hopefully Shadow Ball puts it in Fake Out / Sucker Punch KO range with my Kangaskhan in the back. So I probably could have played it actually a bit better here. He's going to withdraw the Cresselia, which is a smart decision on his end. Conkeldurr comes in, and if he doesn't have Knockout with Conkeldurr, he really won't have a way to beat this Aegislash. Dragon Claw does come out once again, though, targeting down that Rotom. And I do like the Conkeldurr switch in from my opponent because it puts on a bit more offensive pressure. So hopefully no full paralysis here. And I probably should have just attacked with Aegislash last turn. And I do manage to get the Shadow Ball off, which is really, really nice for me here. We'll see how much it does. With the Life Orb, it gets a special defense drop. Not the Life Orb, excuse me, since I'm just normal. But still does a great amount of damage there, and I'm pretty pleased. Let's see, though. Now, that Conkeldurr is scary because I don't know what kind of set he's running. I assume he probably has Knockoff or Rock Slide, but, you know, other Conkeldurrs run something like Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Ice Punch, and Wide Guard. So, you know, I'd like to figure out what set he is sooner than later. So I could bring in Kangaskhan here. Or I could bring Volcarona and then... You know what? I'm actually going to bring Vulcan, I think. Well, I mean, considering who he has in the back, actually Kangaskhan's probably a bit better, yeah. Because what I want to do is I just want to knock out Salamence. But I anticipate him protecting with Salamence here. So I guess the Fake Out onto Conkeldurr is kind of obvious. If I could Fake Out Conkeldurr, I'm wondering if he has Earthquake at this point. Would he risk it? Because he'd end up Earthquaking himself. Otherwise, I could just Fake Out Salamence and Shadow Ball into Conkeldurr. But he might just protect with Salamence, like I mentioned. You know what? I'm going to double up on Conkeldurr. I really think Salamence is protecting here, but we'll see. He might Earthquake, and if that's the case, that's going to throw me off guard. I guess the Dragon Claw is what really kind of misled me right from the beginning. But he does protect with Salamence, so nice. That ends up working out quite nicely. That's Conkeldurr. Let's see. Well, I'm going to be able to get this Fake Out first. Any damage on Conkeldurr is good right now, since it's probably the biggest threat to my team as he flinches. And Aegislash, fortunately, no full paralysis, manages to get the Shadow Ball off. I don't think he's a Sylvest. That did more damage than I honestly anticipated. Now we're kind of in an interesting position because I don't just want to lose my Kangaskhan. So I kind of actually want to switch out into Volcarona and King Shield here. Yeah. This allows me to get another Fake Out with Kangaskhan in the following turns. He actually withdraws the Salamence, which is really good, a play on his end, because I was going to Sucker Punch the Salamence if I stayed in. So instead I get Volcarona in for free, which is great. And now he doesn't have a huge offensive presence. And I assume he's going to be going for a Drain Punch on a Volcarona. Of course, there's the burn chance there as well. And I'm going to play it safer with Aegislash. I don't want to risk him knocking me off because, you know, when I'm in shield form, knockoff won't knock me out. Unfortunately, paralysis there, but he actually goes for the Mach Punch there instead of a Drain Punch, which is, you know, good. He doesn't get recovery, and I do manage to get the burn, so that really stinks for my opponent, unfortunately. He might be Guts. Most Conkeldurr are, but at the same time, it's a bit, you know, behind for him to really get anything off with that Conkeldurr. So this next turn, I'm just going to go for the Heat Wave and the Shadow Ball. We know what that Kangaskhan properly conserved in the back. I should be able to close out the game. No Wide Guard or Switch Outs here, or Protect/Detect, so I'm going to be able to just Heat Wave, knock out the Conkeldurr, you know, eliminate basically the biggest threat I had to my Kangaskhan. He's going to go for a Thunder Wave onto my Volcarona, but with a Lum Berry, that's not going to be enough, as I'm going to, you know, basically waste a turn here from Cresselia, and I'm going to be able to get another Shadow Ball off. Fortunately enough, Aegislash has been able to get all its attacks off, which is really important because, of course, Thunder Wave and full paralysis can always screw you over. But at this point in the game, I feel confident enough that with the Pokemon I have in the back, which is basically Kangaskhan, I can close it out. But critical hit there actually manages to take out Cresselia. I don't think it would normally take it out here since I'm not Life Orb, and it does around like 65-75% at most, I'd say. But regardless, at this point, it's just formalities. He's going to bring in Salamence. I am curious what his other moves are because he never revealed Earthquake or Double Edge for that matter. But I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to Protect and King Shield here. With Kangaskhan in the back, obviously the game's basically over with access to Fake Out and Sucker Punch. Though I'm wondering if he has Dragon Dance here because it could make the game a bit more interesting. Not that it really matters at this point, but I think one move he could have made earlier is if he had the Dragon Dance, you know, instead of protecting, went for the Dragon Dance, expecting me to Fake Out Conkeldurr. But he reveals the Earthquake here, so we see Dragon Claw, we see Earthquake. He probably doesn't have Dragon Dance since you don't assume his last one is Return or Double Edge. So with that, I'm just going to go for a Heat Wave and a Shadow Ball. And there's really not much he can do here. He's going to Earthquake, so that's going to activate my weakness policy. That's not going to knock out Volcarona either. So, as long as Shadow Ball connects here, it's going to be a game. But regardless, Kangaskhan once again in the back, so it's just really playing it out at this point. I feel like my matchup was definitely heavily favored in this game just because Aegislash was really important. Heat Wave doesn't knock out Salamence, brings it down pretty low, but I'll be able to knock it out here. If anything, I'm just looking at his team right now, and I'm a bit surprised that we didn't see the Bisharp make an appearance, since I thought Bisharp would have been pretty good. But I guess you never want to bring a Bisharp when you see a Kangaskhan on your opponent's side. That was probably the biggest thing. And Volcarona, which is always a bit scary, but I do think Bisharp would have been a decent call. It was the right decision for my opponent to leave Sylveon out in this game, though, because I think just bringing Sylveon anytime against Aegislash, you always have to think twice because Aegislash also gets access to Wide Guard. And at this point in VGC 2015, most Aegislash, of course, do carry Wide Guard. But we're going to take a pretty convincing win in that first game, and we're going to look for the second match of today's episode. So yeah, that was a pretty fun match there. I do think my opponent's team was quite strong, but this team counters, you know, a lot of popular picks pretty well. So Pokemon like Mega Salamence didn't give me too much trouble, fortunately. And being able to knock out his Aegislash once again was pretty essential in the beginning. But we're going to find Michael from Florida, good old Hoenn, with a rating of 1583. So if we win this one and then win our first one of tomorrow's episode, we should be over the 1700s, which is nice. Michael's got a pretty cool team here because of his Mega Evolution choice. Mega Lopunny, Sylveon, Bisharp, Suicune, Thundurus, and Landorus T. So once again, the Double Genie. Looks like a lot of the times, at least in my experience that I played against Lopunny teams, Double Genie is actually very common. Lopunny is pretty scary to go up against in general. I'm not a huge fan of playing against it. But let's see what we can do here. I kind of want to bring Togekiss this time around because setting up Tailwind would be kind of sweet. Volk's actually not bad here. I actually like the Volk pick, yeah. But let's see what else. This is definitely an interesting kind of matchup. I could lead with Aegislash Rotom once again. That is becoming my favorite lead with this team. Just because of its ability to, you know, it doesn't really get knocked out by too many things, not too many Pokemon threaten both of them, so that's why I like it the most. I could lead with Kangaskhan. I don't think that's the best call. I think my opponent's either going to lead with, I think Lopunny, first of all. That was like me just mixing up all my words. I think Lopunny is definitely coming out, and with its partner, I presume something like Landorus or Thundurus. Or maybe even Bisharp. Landorus makes the most sense to me, though. So I could do something like Rotom. Well, Aegislash is still really good. You know what? I'm gonna go Rotom Aegislash again, I think. Yeah. Kang in the back. Now Landorus would be pretty decent here just to beat my opponent's Landorus. So I'm leaning towards it, but Volcarona here is also pretty good, as I mentioned, if I can get a Quiver Dance off. Togekiss not really essential here. It's between Landorus and Volk. And I'm gonna go with Landorus here. While I want Volcarona, in this case, my opponent's Landorus is too big of a threat for me to neglect it. Especially with Rotom Wash and Kangaskhan on my side. So, might end up regretting this decision, but, you know, I'm fine with, it's one of the cases where it's not like either Pokemon are too essential, and I feel like I can win with, you know, either of my choices. Now, once again, you know, Rotom Wash being as feral as it is, can't take too many hits. He's gonna lead with Lopunny and Bisharp, which is a pretty smart lead on his end here. But, you know, Rotom, being how fast it is, it can be able to put on some pressure right from the beginning. And another reason why I wanted the Landorus was because it can intimidate the Lopunny, which I think is also pretty important here. So I don't regret my decision so far. I think this first turn I'm just going to protect King Shield. Yeah. I want to see what he goes for. I don't want to take any unnecessary damage, and this allows me to target the Bisharp next turn. Now the thing is, I don't want to rely on Hydro Pump, but if he's Focus Sash, or if he's Life Orb, then I can actually just knock him out immediately with a Hydro Pump, since I do outspeed and I'm max speed. But I'm not sure whether I want to risk that. I just want to scout out what my opponent goes for this turn. We'll see who he does. Fake out into the Rotom and knock off into the Aegislash. Yeah, that was the safest play possible. Though, maybe I should have just attacked with Aegislash there, because I could have figured out what item he had. I guess I was fearing him to protect from Rotom and like double up on Aegislash there, but that's kind of a silly fear. Here I'm just going to go for the Hydro onto Bisharp and the Flash Cannon onto Lopunny here. He goes for the return onto Rotom. That should have knocked me out. Yep, I hang on with 39. Hydro Pump fortunately connects with Bisharp. That's great. Let's see if he's Life Orb or not. He's going to be Focus Sashed. Okay. So that actually kind of makes it interesting because he's going to knock off and activate my weakness policy, which is kind of nice. Unless he targeted Rotom. Nope. He targets Aegislash here, and that brings me down to 39 HP. But it does activate weakness policy. So I should be able to knock out Lopunny here with the Flash Cannon, which means I should be able to take a 4-3 lead, but both of my Pokemon heavily damaged. However, of course, his Bisharp is already at 1 HP here as well. Flash Cannon going to be able to come out though, and that should knock out the Lopunny, which is really frail as it does. So, you know, pretty decent first few turns, but at the same time, I'm not in the most ideal positions, especially with both of my special type attackers, which I'm trying to rely on more in this game, being at as low HP as they are. So we do see the Thundurus come out from my opponent here, which is obviously a bit scary. You never like facing against Thundurus, especially when it carries moves like Thunder Wave. I mean, he kind of has the Thunderbolt Rotom here. I guess he could also Sucker Punch me. For that reason, I actually kind of want to switch out into Landorus because I'm anticipating his Suicune in the back. Yeah, Now, obviously, you're probably thinking, wow, you're going to switch a Landorus in against a Bisharp. That doesn't seem like a very smart idea, but, Sucker Punch won't be able to knock me out. And I put on a lot of pressure with Rock Slide, so I'm going to go for it. Yeah. I might regret this move a bit. This isn't the best play I can make. Another play I can make just is King Shielding and getting rid of Rotom, but the Suicune on the other side of my opponent's end is just scaring me enough that I don't want to risk anything right now, because I don't have a great way to deal with Suicune, especially with Landorus. But, of course, I do walk into the Defiant here, you know, but I made that play knowing that, so we'll see whether it works out in my favor or not. Really, you know, offensive first turn, though. Both of us just trading damage, or first 2 turns. But most Mega Lopunny teams are that offensive. He does go for a Sucker Punch and a Thunderbolt. Perfect. So that's what I was hoping for at least. So that turn works out in my favor. Now I'm going to Rock Slide. He's probably going to Sucker Punch Aegislash. Perhaps I could have thought this through a bit better. Or I could U-turn out here. I like that, actually. But part of me just wants the Rock Slide damage, because then it puts Thundurus in KO range from Kangaskhan. Yeah, Rotom's heavily damaged in the back. I don't want to lose Aegislash just yet. So I'm going to Rock Slide here, and I'm actually going to go for a... I'm just going to double King Shield. I don't need to get it here, but it's just basically me saying, okay, oh, he makes a great play switching out Thundurus into his Landorus, so that's his last one. Okay. Yeah, the reason why I King Shielded here is just because it avoids Sucker Punch if he chooses to target me here. But he makes a very good play going for the Protector with Bisharp. So, free switch into Landorus. So, you know, I was kind of worried because I thought he had Suicune in the back. Turns out he didn't, so, you know, I do confirm his 4th Pokemon, but the Focus Sash here on Bisharp is very problematic for me. And I could have capitalized off that turn by going for a Shadow Ball, which would have knocked out the Landorus and surely would have won me the game, but unfortunately I didn't make aggressive enough of a read. So let's see, he brings in his Landorus. He's probably going to Rock Slide. I would guess Sucker Punch Landorus, Rock Slide. The Sucker Punch won't knock me out, so I could actually just Rock Slide Wide Guard here. Yeah, that's the play I'm going to go for. Just because I know Bisharp won't knock out Landorus, even a Life Orb 1 at +1 won't. It's a damage roll. So unless Landorus goes for something like a Stone Edge onto Landorus, I'm okay here. The funny thing about the Landorus mirror match is they really don't have great ways to hit each other, though in Japanese Nationals, one guy decided to run Hidden Power Ice Landorus. So he does make the smart play here, going for the Sucker Punch onto my Landorus. It doesn't knock me out, and I do get the Rock Slide off. So I do manage to knock out the Bisharp, and the nice thing here is his Landorus is stuck at this point, because, you know, well, first of all, I want to see what item he has here. He goes for the knockoff smartly onto the Landorus, so avoiding my wide guard there, which is a very, very good play on my opponent's end. Props to them for making that play. Getting rid of my Scarf. I still don't know what item it has there, which is kind of an issue, but we'll see. Because of that knockoff, I'm actually a bit scared, because I could fake out Landorus here. Actually, yeah, I'm just going to fake out and Shadow Ball. So the thing here is, well, if he has Protect, then he can Thunder Wave Kangaskhan, and then we'll have an interesting game. But then I get a Shadow Ball off against his Thundurus, and if he's the Scarf variant, then he'll be in Sucker Punch KO range. Thundurus here has to Thunderbolt Aegislash, because if it doesn't, then I can do a lot of damage, if not outright knock it out with Shadow Ball. So he's kind of in an awkward position, but it's definitely not over yet, especially when you have two of the strongest Pokemon in Thundurus and Landorus. But Kangaskhan's going to Mega Evolve, and we'll see what he decides to go for. Okay, so no Protect from that Landorus, or the Thundurus at that matter, which is really, really good news for me here. That should be in Sucker Punch KO range, but I'm not actually entirely sure. He actually goes for the Taunt onto Aegislash. I don't really agree with that play. Landorus flinches. That allows me to get a free attack. I mean, I like it because it forces me to stay in Blade form, and I can't Wide Guard, but still somewhat of a confusing play here. The Shadow Ball actually knocks out Thundurus, which is fantastic news for me here. So that actually should be game at this point. He's definitely Earthquaking here. But, oh, not if he can even Earthquake, but I'm just going to Sucker Punch. I don't know what item he has, but if he has Super Power, then he can't win the game with Rotom and Aegislash in the back. I want to conserve that Aegislash. So we'll see. Though it might have been a better idea to switch out Kangaskhan in the off chance Sucker Punch doesn't knock him out here. But looks like it's just going to be enough. With a crit there, but I don't think it really mattered. We don't actually even find out Landorus' item there, but it was a really, really good game. That was also really intense. I don't feel like, you know, obviously it worked out in my favor because I was able to bring that Bisharp down to its sash and then all that damage onto the Lopunny, knocking it out immediately. But it's really scary because I was relying more on Rotom Wash and Aegislash in this game since I know those two were the better Pokemon offensively. But a really fantastic match there. I thought my opponent definitely played quite well as well. Though at that end, you know, a couple of weird and questionable plays like the Thunder Wave. The knockoff, I think, was probably the right play. I'm guessing he was Choice Scarf because he didn't want to lock himself into Rock Slide against an Aegislash, but, you know, we won't really know. Regardless, though, two really intense games in today's episode against great opponents, and, you know, it's cool to feature Mega Lopunny even though it wasn't, you know, it didn't do too much, but, yeah. Great game to my opponent, both of my opponents, and that's going to be it for this episode. Go check out episode 3 of VGC with Pros on Shady Penguin's channel if you're interested in more content, and I really, really recommend it, honestly. It's not just me saying it. It was a really good game against Flo, who is the Italy national champion from last year, so, you know, more VGC content with a awesome guy. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, peace.